as believers, Kebara di la Kunta, Efesi Kabai, we do not know the strength of advantage we have just by having a recreated spirit. In fact, just by being a human, you are like a petri dish that all kinds of things can grow in. But you get to choose. Unlike the petri dish that has no choice in what it is used for, you have a choice. You can decide what you allow to grow and fester under your watch, and you can decide what you allow to spread under your watch. But many times we feel that true faith is being ignorant of the ways of the enemy and leaving it all to God, whilst you just live however you want to live. I'm saying this to you because, like I said, I'm on the topic of scientific facts about the locust, and I'm saying to you that in terms of life cycle, it begins as a solitary grasshopper, but under specific environmental conditions, it can grow into a gregarious phase where they multiply rapidly and becomes a swarm. Now, in terms of its behavior, it is highly mobile, covering vast distances, and it can devastate an entire region at a quick pace. Now, you usually know when the spirit of locust or there's a locust attack in the life of a person. And when I say spirit of locust, it's not necessarily a spirit in the spirit realm. I'm talking about a system of operation. I'm talking about a demonic structure that is quick spreading, and it happens fast, and it decimates in a quick way and in a large covering of in a large area. So usually you can see that you just say, this person married, was living in Banana Island, or was living in this estate, had this good job, They'll now say, oh, the first thing that happened was, at work, he signed one thing that he was not supposed to sign, and then they had to fire him. And then after that, you will now hear that, in order to survive, maybe his wife now said, okay, let us relocate with the children for better life in Canada. At least they are Canadian citizens. And the next thing you now hear that, okay, he stayed back to try to hustle. But somehow in the hustling, the savings they had, he now invested it in something. And the next thing, the $1 million he had saved, bam, everything finished. The wife had to go into maybe whatever in Canada, into shelter. And while she was there, they now proposed to her, maybe marry a white man to get papers or something. And then she now did. The next thing, white man no gree leave am, say, is this how you black women are? You don't wake up, you sweep, you say good morning, sir. You will cook food. You will even write, you will wash. You don't call me to wash plates. You don't ask me to do laundry. You do it all by yourself. When man say, I will never let you go. The next thing, the man is here. He has lost his wife, he has lost his children, he has lost his money, he has lost his house. Next thing you now hear that he's living without his best friend in the BQ. People, when you hear things like that, remember my sermon. It is called the operation of the locust. It is fast. It happens rapidly. And when I say fast, it may not be like 1 year. You just track 10 years, 15 years, and you're like, bam, whatever happened? There was always an opportunity for it to be dealt with. But the people sought to stay in ignorance. And of course, where will this end? It will end with me teaching you how to combat. Because there's no need explaining to you what the circumstances are without telling you what the solution is. Okay? Now, when you even look at the locust on a national level, because we're thinking about our personal lives, but there are also things like this that can happen in businesses. Things like this can happen in regions and nations. So the impact, even on a national level, is it can cause famine and economic collapse. Do you understand? Even economic collapse, it can cause it to happen. And this has happened historically, not just right now. So this natural behavior of the locust parallels the spiritual nature of the spirit of the locust, which operates with precision to destroy lives, future, and generational blessings. Generational blessings. It's not just coming for that generation, it's coming for generations. Now, before verse 4, if you read that Joel 1, it says, verse 1, it says, the word of the Lord that came to Joel, the son of Pethuel. Hear this, ye old men, and give ear, all ye inhabitants of the land. Hath this been in your days, or even in the days of your fathers, Tell your children of it, and let your children tell their children and their children's and their children another generation. It says, tell your children. So there's the first generation that tells their children, and let your children tell their children, and let those children tell their other children. How many generations? 4. Why? It says, because he will forgive them their sins and visit their iniquities unto their 3rd and even 4th generation. And you remember that scientifically it has been proven that there are certain traits, and I don't want to get this wrong, but I think like certain genetic traits, and even the ones that are like deficiencies in like DNA usually are transferred. And after the 4th generation, it's like there's a regeneration, and there's a possibility of breaking certain things by the 4th generation. So you don't realize, it says, tell this to your children, and let your children tell their children. Because what I am talking about has the capacity to affect onto the 4th generation. It says, it says, what should you tell them? It says, tell them this, that which the palmer worm had left, the locust has eaten. And that which the locust has left, had the canker worm eaten. And that which the canker worm has left, had the caterpillar eaten. Awaken, you drunkards, and weep, and howl, all you drinkers of wine, because of the new wine, for it is cut off from your mouth. Now, if you've ever done my course, Awaken to Your Purpose, I think maybe before the end of this month or the end of this 40 days, I should just do Awaken to Your Purpose for 2 days. In Awaken to Your Purpose, one of the first things I teach you is about being awakening for the sleep and the slumber that plagues a generation. And many of us, we go for coaching, we go for this, we go for that, trying to understand our purpose, who I am, and stuff like that. But the problem is that many people are asleep. And to wake up from this kind of sleep requires the arm of the spiritual, so that you may become fully awakened to where you stand. And you will know how to, because our problem is not gift and graces. Our problem is that we are unaware of the battles we are fighting. So he says, say this. He said, tell them to come out of the drunkenness. Tell them to come out. You have been intoxicated by the new wine. You've been intoxicated by this fresh culture. You've been intoxicated by, it doesn't matter. I was teaching some people recently, and I said, part of the problems that people get into in this generation, I have seen, is the crossing of spiritual boundaries. Many people, in the bid to find liberty because of a previous captivity that was imposed on believers through the religion of church, many people in search of liberty and free Christianity, they began to disrespect spiritual boundaries. And in the midst of that disrespect, they no longer honored the landmarks of the Spirit, and they became prey to the enemy. Now, imagine Job's sons. See what happened even though Job was offering up sacrifices on their behalf. When the day came, who was Satan able to touch? He was able to touch them and the goods, but he didn't touch the one who offered the sacrifice. Now, imagine if Job was not offering up sacrifices on their behalf. They would have died since. A long time ago, they would have died. Now, I say that to say, imagine if those children had no honor upon their father, and the other were like, I don't care, we are free, whatever. And the father stopped offering sacrifices on their behalf. Do you know that that's how many people are in this generation? They have full disrespect for the ancient landmarks that made the people that they look at today, that made them who they are. And so many times when I speak to ministers, and I find out that many people no longer know how to put their foot down. And then the few of us that put our foot, feet, everything down, it's almost like you are the unreasonable, you are the wicked pastor, you are the one that is, PR, you have to learn sometimes, people could just be. And so many times when I get into that with ministers, I challenge them and I say, tell me the truth. You cannot say that you don't know that this is not how we were raised by God. You cannot say that you don't know that the stability and power that you now experience is a product of the disciplines you received from the Lord. Why should we then deprive another generation of spiritual sustainability by pandering to their need for comfort and their need for acknowledgement when there's nothing to be acknowledged? Somebody comes on stage and says, hallelujah, hallelujah, I just want to bless God. In fact, I don't want to say anything. And anyway, to God be all the glory. Praise God. Why? Why do we no longer teach truth? Why do we no longer actually tell people, hey, can you just relax for 1 year? Can you just take time off the need to be this and just go and be blessed? Can you just go back and learn spiritual structure? Understand the operation of God? Have you ever been mentored by anyone? Have you ever been taught? In those days, they would write letters. When Paul is sending somebody, I'm sending you back Onesimus. He has become like a son to me. I know that when he left you, this was but he has gone through this training and has proven himself. If they asked all the pastors that have ever pastored you to write a letter, what would they say? You can't even find one person that can give a testimonial of you and say, I have known him for 7 years. I have raised him and trained him. And I can guarantee you that in this area are people of God. Even normal work, they used to ask for reference. I'm saying this to you because I'm explaining to you the things that preserve and the things that expose. And many times, even you as a person cannot see when something has infiltrated your borders. It takes another trained eye to say to you, this party is not a normal party. There's something going up here. You need to take a fast when you come back from that place. Take a fast for like 2 days or 3 days. Do you get what I'm saying? So very, very important. Now, the spirit of the locust, just from a spiritual perspective, even though in the natural it destroys crops and all of those things, is the devourer. I will get to the devourer and how God says he will rebuke the devourer for your sake. Now, in Joel 2, there are 4 things that the spirit of the locust comes for. One of the first things that God said to me, when God promised in Joel 2:25, he said, I will restore to you the years the canker, the locust has eaten. Now, when I saw that, I said, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. So that means one of the first things it eats is time. Have you seen where, in fact, recently somebody sent a video and to my husband on one of the groups that they were on as men, I think maybe their university group or something, and he was playing it in the living room. Do you know, as he was playing the video, I think if I did not hiss, maybe like 20 times in 20 seconds, I was just like, nonsense. It was like, sister in the Lord, please relax. I'm not the one that shot the video. I'm just playing. They sent it to the group. If you want me to, I was like, what is it? So the person was talking about, and saying it with such audacity. A man, this generation of women, they have to learn how to build their homes. They have to learn, how to keep their families. Go back and keep your family. You will see a woman, her daughter will give birth, and then she leaves her husband and is going for Omugwo. These women are 60-something, are 70-something. They will go and sit down in their children's houses. For those of you abroad, you don't know what Omugwo is. Omugwo is basically like the traditional, should I say, what you do as a mother when your child has a baby. And so you go help your child take care of the baby. I know those in the West, they don't do it. I don't know if you guys do, but it's something we do here. Your mother will be with you for like 3 months, just helping you find your feet. And most times, aunties will come and visit. Different people will come by the house because your mom is there. Maybe an auntie will say, I'm coming for 1 week, another will come for 2 weeks. Then when the mom is coming, sometimes she will bring maybe 2 helps along with her. So when you give birth, it's not the one that's abroad. People have postpartum you don't even have space to be depressed in Nigeria because somebody is taking care of something. Most times, in fact, when my mom had her baby, she used to tell us then about how when she used to have babies, that she did not used to see her child. Like, it was only when it was time for her to feed the baby, my grandma would bring the baby to her and she feeds. Most times, my grandmother, my dad's mom, just takes the baby. She will bath the child in the morning, dress the child up, put the child on her back. We have this African shawls, our wrapper that we use, we tie the baby. My grandma will put the baby on her back while she's doing other chores in the house. When the baby begins to cry, takes to the mom. My mom, I'm like, okay, feed your child and collects the child back. So the mother actually has the space to heal. You get? Then aunties will come, family members will come. And then when they come to visit, when men come, you give the mother money. That's how in Africa you say, hey, our wife, well done. Hold this one. They will squeeze something into your hand. They depend on the manner of uncle. Some will squeeze dollars into your hand. Some will give you. Then the ones that don't squeeze, know that money is big money. They usually will put it in envelope. When they put it in envelope, that type, you don't open it in the living room. You just take the envelope and put it inside your handbag. But the one they squeezed inside your hand, you can open it because it can't be more than, you understand? So then there are the uncles that come. When they come and you hear them say, sweetheart, oh, how are you? I just got back from the US of, hey, you will arrange your wig well because that's a dollarized uncle, you understand? So he can give you, say, $400, $500, stuff like that. So the time of childbearing in Africa is actually a good time, but I hear a lot of people abroad talk about the fact that they get lonely, it's so hard. It's not like that for most of us in this part of the world. Do you understand? In this part of the world. And it's one of the reasons why I love Africa. I know people talk about Africa, people abroad, they talk about it, and people still ask questions like, how did you get here? I'm like, yeah, I swam through 7 seas and 7 oceans. And then I rode the back of an alligator to pass through South Africa to God knows where. And then I rode on an elephant to pass through the jungles of this. How did I get here? Of course, I took a plane. What kind of question is that? So there are so many people abroad that are not even as enlightened as the average African. Do you get? Because we are always traveling. We are always like so educated, very exposed. But one thing we've managed to do is to keep community. To keep community. And it's the reason why the average person on this side has mental fortification. Because before you can even get depressed, somebody has arrived at your house. Pierre, I just said as I was coming, let me stop by and bring you orange. And then you and the person will sit down and lick orange together. You say, all these men, did I tell you what Papa Jumbo did yesterday? I'm like, this Papa Jumbo, all these men, The next, say, I beg, let me get up and go and cook for him. He will soon come himself. After describing Papa Jumbo, you will still get up and go and cook. Then the friend that joined you to say, hey, all these men, this Papa Jumbo, she will be the one cutting the onions for you as you are making stew for the Papa Jumbo. Do you understand what I'm saying? That's Africa for you. So it just offers that community and support. So there are deficiencies to the way we are. Don't get me wrong. It has its own weaknesses. But I am grateful for that. I love it. And so sometimes people say, Pierre, can you live abroad? I'm like, yeah, I can. But I just need to have a community. Like, yeah. So you can be going out and say, oh, during Christmas, my husband and I, we were supposed to go somewhere. We forgot that we didn't have a nanny. And I was like, geez, what are we going to do now? He said, I can't drop them in them Choma's house now. Like my neighbor is like, what kind of question are you asking? Go and drop them there. So it's like you can just knock on your neighbor's door. Please, we are going out. We forgot. No, if I want to explain, person say, what are you explaining? Please bring the children, bring my children, bring their nightwear self. And we have their bath here by the time you arrive, in my mother's time, by the time you arrive, they've given your child a bath, warn the child Nicodemus's ninth wear, because you didn't bring ninth wear. She will take her son Nicodemus, where your 2-year-old Nicodemus, 7-year-old ninth wear. So when you come, Nicodemus, the sleeve is here. Then they will rub powder, white dust. Who knows dusting powder? Powder on the neck of the child, on the face, everywhere. Then when you come back, the neighbor will say, say, I don't bath him. They can take care of him well for you. You say, thank you, Mama Nico. You get, that's Africa for you. You get, and so, yes, our Vaseline. If it's not dusting powder, the neck will be dusting powder, the face will be Vaseline. That's how it operates. That's how you know a well taken care of child. But sometimes I see some people abroad, they'll say your children will not bath 4 days. Please, don't let the women in the villages in Africa hear you. How can you not bath a child for 4 days, 3 days? And you are saying it. Do you understand? Then your child will pass. You'll be thinking it's the locusts that have passed. Because the manner of the body odor is like a swarm that will follow the child. In Africa, it's not possible. If you don't bath the child, your neighbor will bath the child for you. Then when you come back and say, why did you get? You say, they smell. Hey, when they came back, they smell. And as you were not around, I say, make I bath them for you before you come back. Do you get what I'm saying? Yes, Aboniki then will be tied the child's hand to have an injury. They will massage Aboniki rub, strong one, massage the child's hand on your behalf. My grandma, when we were growing up, my dad's mom, she, as far as she was concerned, every sickness was attached to the filth of the body. Once you just start, you are shaking, you can't eat. She'll just look at you, She'll bring your eye down like this, bring this other eye to, I don't know what she's looking for, maybe your blood or something. This was an illiterate woman, and she would just look at you and say, this is the reason why I sick. Where you don't bath. This is the reason why you are sick. You don't wash yourself well. You say, Mama, they say it's typhoid fever. It's malaria. What does it have to do with having my bath? Then one of the first things she will do, she will give you a bath. There is this sponge that grows on trees. Who knows that sponge? It's like in a pod. Then you break the pod open, you remove it. It's like raffia. I don't even know what it is. And then she takes it with our African black soap. Then the water is steaming hot. When she pours it on your body, you tell yourself, you know what Esther said, if I perish, I perish. You will tell yourself, if this bath does not kill me, no sickness in this life can kill me. Then she will pour that water on you, and with the plenty black soap, and she uses all her strength. I should be saying, as it means in my language, you will scrub the body, scrub it, wash the sickness off. By the time she finishes that scrub, while that is going on, you're already seeing the full pot that they are boiling. In that big pot, there are all kinds of herbs. There is guava leaf, there is mango leaf, there is this leaf, there is that leaf. All kinds of leaves are boiling in the pot. So when you finish, they will take water from that pot, put you over with a huge blanket, and you will inhale everything. Everything. You have to inhale it. Then when you finish, they will give you a cup to drink from the boiling pot. Sisters in the Lord. You see this therapy, when you finish like this, then after that they give you pounded yam, depending on your tribe. Yoruba, it may be amala and ewedu. My place, pounded yam, black soup or banga. By the time you eat it, relax. Wake up 2 hours time, you are healed. You are well. I'm telling you, you are fine. This was how they did it. And if by any means you are not flying, my grandmother, she slapped you. Slap the disease out of your body. And there's something, it's like something, I don't know what it is that affects the fingers, and then your fingers get this way. All her fingers were like this. So she was kind of like a double-edged sword. So if more like triple, so she slaps you at the same time, blows you at the same time, scratches you in one sweep. You get like, bam. So all of the actions happen all at once. And it's like, Mama, honestly, I'm fine. Trust me, I am well, I'm restored, I'm done, But how did we get here? You people, don't stop encouraging bad behavior. Stop encouraging bad behavior. So we got here because I was saying that the locust, one of the first things it eats is time. And in trying to explain time, I was explaining how by yourself, you cannot arrive at noticing certain patterns. You usually need the eyes of elders to tell you that see the operation at hand. Remember what it says in Joel. It says, tell your children. It says, I'm saying this to you old men. Give ear. Then it says, tell your children. So sometimes it takes an elder to tell you when this operation is being released. But because the enemy has sensitized this generation into believing that eldership means nothing. God, who is this person called Destiny that came to corrupt my comment section with this sponge? Destiny, please, I just pray that God will secure your spot in heaven. Now, how I also joined them. My God, what's going on here? May God save you all in this prayer rain. But for those who don't know, that's the sponge in question, the healing sponge. When you bath with this sponge, you can never have body odor. Grace has also helped us with the refined version of the sponge. Who said loafer? It's not a loafer. No. This is not a loafer, please. The loafer does not have the power that this sponge has. Can't call it a loafer. Forget it. This sponge, I'm sure when we get to heaven, we'll see samples of it in the museum in heaven. Anyway, so because many people abuse eldership, certain things are released into their lives. Certain things operate in their lives. And those who have the capacity to be able to highlight it no longer feel obligated to speak to you about certain things, or do not feel safe to tell you anymore that something is wrong here. So many people get taken into cycles like this, and their timings and their seasons are affected by the enemy. So and in Joel 2:25 says, I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten. So the first thing that it comes for is time. Time. Now, but there's a promise in God that says he will restore the time that has been eaten. But this highlights the fact that the Spirit just doesn't destroy material things, but the destruction of the material things is to rob you of your seasons in life. Now, the second thing that the locust comes for is harvest. This spirit attacks the result of your labor. It attacks relationships, careers, ministries, opportunities, leaving you feeling barren despite your effort. This is very critical because if you even think about it in the physical, the locust comes for the harvest. So if you notice that you are in seasons where you have worked, you have labored, every time you work and every time you labor, it's almost like at the end of it, something always collects that which should be yours, which should be your promotion, which should be your increase. Then there's something at work. Or sometimes you labor, you see the result of your labor, and you try to spend it into, achieving key strategic things. But the strategic things never manifest. There is something at work. And it almost looks like poor investment. Even though you went to business school and you are constantly joining every seminar about how to invest wisely. But it's the day that you invest that structure collapses. It's the day you said, okay, I'm going to go into this business. They will say, the federal government has signed a policy that this business should. So it comes for harvest. Now, the thing about harvest is that it eventually affects legacy. Because the harvest is where the seed of the next season comes from. Now, even when you think about this spirit spiritually, and even in terms of like ministry, this spirit is usually at work in ministries where the leader never sees the leaders that they invested in. So you will invest in people, but none of them last. So there is no transference of the DNA that you have labored to incorporate into the next generation. Now you have to understand, remember when I talked to you about the enemy? The enemy is the most, should I say, invincible force that you could ever have working against your life. In fact, when you see the enemy operating visibly, it is because he's there to conclude what he has already finished. Conclude in the physical what he has finished, spiritually finished. His greatest advantage is walking in the shadows and walking in the darkness of your ignorance. So that by the time you begin to see the things manifest, it is because it has been concluded in the spirit realm. Now, because of that, we have to be careful. So I said to you that it comes for the harvest and it has to allow you have an involvement. So many times there's an involvement of maybe your bad character, the bad way you speak to people, the bad forms of investments, your struggle with money, your struggle with addiction. So you will see that somebody started a church 15 years ago. Till today, there are still only 15 members in the church. Father in the Lord, sit back and ask the Lord, why? But every month or every quarter, at least 100 people go through that church. It's not because God gave a word that I've called you to the small. No. Actually, there's always a reason why. Sit back and ask yourself, Kila, Aparia Dodobosuba. Because we can blame it all on the enemy. But what gives him advantage? What gives him advantage? So as you are not unaware of the devices of the enemy, also do not be unaware of your own weaknesses that partner with the devices of the enemy. Do not be unaware. Do you understand what I'm talking about? Because for him to infiltrate on that level of decimation, he must have an internal partnership.